Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. It is 9 o'clock here on the 1st of July, time for the 14First Alert Weather Show. I'm watching your comments here on 14 News Facebook page, so feel free to chime in. A little bit of difference here tonight. We have new alert days added if you're watching the 2:30 stream or the earlier newscast. Arden Gregory extended the first alert weather days through Sunday. We still think the heat index will likely be in the danger zone or close to it on Saturday and Sunday. And new info tonight, we're going to compare a couple of models. It looks like our storm chances are better for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The heat alert still the same basically as it was yesterday. Feels like temperatures even now at 9 o'clock are still in the 90s over the southern half of that extreme heat warning. And you'll notice here we have thunderstorm chances each day beginning Friday night and Saturday and continuing through the week. Right now here in the tri-state, Owensboro is still sitting at a 100-degree, feels like. Everybody else has pulled back into the lower 90s or so. And this is an hour by hour. Now, I've saved this model run because sometimes what happens is it updates and then everything that I had set up to talk about changes. So this is an earlier version. We're going to compare it with the current version and see what kind of changes are in there. And you see that through Thursday, we're not showing anything. This must be the current model right now. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, well, not sure what's going on with that. But anyway, we will try the, yeah, here we go. All right, now we're cooking. So this model for tonight and going into tomorrow, the graph model that we use here, was hinting at some showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. Well, I see it's dropped them off again. Well, and then we see some coming in on Friday, Saturday. The point here is that at least something is showing up out there in terms of scattered showers and storms. As we know, the models, even the high resolution ones, are not great several days in advance on localized or scattered thunderstorms. So my thinking here is that the conditions here in the tri-state pretty similar to what we have in the south, and you'll notice we have lines and clusters of showers and storms now riding up behind the high pressure, which is over here. And so my thinking is that'll kind of inch its way in from the south into western Kentucky, perhaps tomorrow evening, and then the same thing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That would be the best case scenario, to get some showers and storms in here to kind of knock the heat down. 84 degrees at Evansville at this moment, and the air temperature, just the street temperature there, upper or mid 80s everywhere. We were down to 74 this morning and we hit 93. That's the new highest temperature for the year so far. For the 24-hour temperature change, we actually are a degree or two cooler than we were yesterday at this time. And of course our low and our high both well above the normals for this time of the year. For June, since we don't have any full day, well, I guess we have one day here in July, but looking back at June, there were only 6 days where we hit 90 degrees or greater, and that's unusual. Typically it's more like 10 or even 12 or 15. We did get a healthy dose of rain in those final 4 days there, or nearing the end of the month. And so, as you know, we're in good shape for rainfall. It was the second wettest June on record, going back to 1897. The wettest was about an inch heavier than this year with 11.4. So there's your bragging rights. Now we look at the bigger map and you see the familiar ring of fire pattern here where you have high pressure and then showers and storms riding around the periphery of it, even dropping down here into New England, Vermont there up into New York. And as that high pressure continues to ease to the east, we should have more space in here, so to speak, for those showers and storms to kick up beginning tomorrow and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You saw some of them there on the models, and this is Saturday afternoon, a little better representation of how it will likely look, just hit or miss. The stronger ones will likely be storms that pulse up and produce damaging wind gusts. And in the process of pulsing up, especially with the air this moist, they could produce locally heavy or even rainfall or flash flooding. Temperatures then will get back down to near the normal, which is 88, so we're not that far above normal. It's just the humidity is making it especially oppressive out there. Through Sunday, Monday, we show rain chances across the area. Those continue through much of next week. And on the GFS model, we're showing a healthy rainfall average on there. Not everybody will get that much. And we'll do a quick sanity check here versus the European, which also has the same idea. Scattered afternoon thunderstorms through Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, perhaps a cold front coming in to kind of consolidate the thunderstorm activity and give us some rain. The GFS was at 1 1/4 inch of rain over the week, and the European is pretty close to that too. So I guess the takeaway from the longer range models is we're in for an unsettled pattern with scattered showers and storms, and some may produce heavy rainfall. 75 with patchy fog overnight, 94 tomorrow. That heat index right back into the trouble spot. And then, of course, Friday or Saturday, July the 4th, up to 92, maybe some thunderstorms during the day, hoping, of course, that they will abate before the fireworks there in the evening. And our temperatures still noted as warmer than normal here through the middle of the month, and we're showing wetter than normal too, indicating still kind of unsettledness in the weather pattern. This is Fred with a lava lamp. How about that for our pet pick tonight? So, lava lamps don't throw much heat. That might be a good way to illuminate your house here when it's so hot. Let's see. Get over to your questions here. All right, we'll go right down the line here. Laura Gray is on there from Dawson Springs. Cheyenne Hammonds, of course. Good evening, Cheyenne. Lenny Howard. Suzanne Daly, still ready for cooler weather. I think you said that 3 days ago, and I didn't deliver on it then either. Sorry. But I think everybody agrees. We are ready for some cooler weather, even if cooler means 88. Angie Wampler, hey, from Vincennes. Hey, Angie. Jeff Miller's on. Jennifer Peacock, if my papa was still alive, I would say it's hot Don. He'd say, you can say that again. That's right. You know that? Whoever does their ad copy for, I guess it's Don Moore, right? It's hot Don Moore, right. And didn't they have the money-saving bridge too? People still say that stuff. It's like here, Live I-14, yeah. And that was like late 70s that they had that slogan, but it stuck. Bill Valls would just like a humidity break for the weekend, putting your order in. All right, I'll put it here in my stack of requests. You know how far that will go, right? All right, I did have something interesting. Hopefully this will make you feel cooler, okay? So we talked, I think a couple podcasts ago, or a couple of streaming shows ago, about the big heat wave in 2012, where we had 11 days with just horrendous heat, 10 of which were at 100 or over, and we had consecutive days, 3, 4, 5, and then on the back end, 5. We had one day in the middle. As long as it's that hot, you kind of were cheering for it to get to 100 just to make it a nicer looking graphic. But it didn't that year. We had some storms on the 3rd of July. All right, so I've had a lot of people ask me, especially since we've been talking up the heat index, which of course is above 100 degrees every day. When was the last time we actually hit 100, where the thermometer rose to 100 without factoring in humidity or anything? Surprisingly, maybe for many, is that it's been a couple years. It was back in 2024 on August the 29th, and that was the only day that we got up to 100 degrees in that year. Prior, you'd have to go back to 2023. We had one day at 100, that was July the 28th. And in 2022, we actually had 2 days, July the 5th and 6th there at 101 and 100. And I often tell people when they ask me, well, how often does it get up to 100 around here? I'll say, it's usually once or twice every 2 or 3 years. And so that kind of illustrates why I tell people that, because it's true. And since 1897, so we're going all the way back to the beginning of the records, there have been at least 46 years, rather, have had at least one day where the temperature got into the hundreds. And if you look at that data set, the very earliest we've ever seen 100 was June the 7th. That was back in 1933. And the latest we've ever spiked 100 degrees was actually 1939. The 30s were an extremely hot decade for several reasons that we can't go into all of them, but remember we had the Dust Bowl in the mid-30s. If you ever read the Grapes of Wrath or watched the video or you watching the movie, and of course we had the Great Depression, and because of the arid conditions out there, no humidity, but very dry, the topsoil dried up and blew away. Back then, the way farmers tilled the land, they didn't avoid that, or they didn't do some things that could have helped hold the topsoil down, so it all blew away, and people migrated then to the west. And so that was part of it. The climatological part, I can't tell you, it's just variability. I mean, it gets hot and cold, obviously, over different decades, but the 30s were notable in that we had the largest heat wave on record. But usually, if you're going to hit 100, it'll fall between the 20th of July and the 6th of August, because remember, the sun hit its peak elevation on June the 21st, and typically about a month after the max is when you have your hottest temperatures. It takes a while for everything to heat up and then begin to cool down. So that explains that. We've had 173 100-degree days since 1897. But the conditions that favor 100 or greater around here would be lower humidity, light winds, and of course full sunshine. We've had high humidity, this heat wave, which inhibits how much it can warm. It takes a ton of energy, to move it up another degree, much above 95. And so it kind of is self-governing where the temperature can't hit 100 degrees when it's so humid. In the 1920s, we had 10 100-degree days, but look at the 1930s, 56. And a lot of those happened in 1936, which was a great heat wave here in the Midwest. Certainly, a lot of our climate records still stand from 1936, some of the hottest days ever. In the 1940s, and it dropped back. 1950s, we had a resurgence of 100-degree days. And then in the 1980s, we had some too. Think of 1988 when we had the great drought. Again, dry conditions prolonged. And then in the 2010s, we have had 18 100-degree days. I think the 2010s, because I didn't have room on the graphic, takes us up through where we are today. And if you look at it by year ranked, 1936 is still the granddaddy there with 22 100-degree days. 1930, right behind that, was 17. So already you have, 39 days there just in the decade of the 30s that we account for in the biggest years. 2012 then came in third place there with the 14 100-degree days. 1952 and then 1983 round out the field. Isn't that interesting? Maybe you knew that already, maybe you didn't, but I thought it might put a little context there in for you on what it takes to get up to 100 degrees. Where do I get my weather history from? Jeff Miller. There's a lot of good places to get it. I use the National Weather Service at Paducah has the daily climate records, and you can go in and search those. There's also the National Climate Data Center has data sets that you can look at, and it's all free. It's government information, so it's free. Your tax dollars paid for it. You have to be a little patient though when you access it. Sometimes you have to submit an email and they'll send you a PDF or something like that. Haley Marie, do we know if they're still doing fireworks downtown at the convention center due to rain? Not sure. If you mean downtown Evans, or you must mean Owensboro if it's downtown convention center. That I don't know. William Raleigh says, good evening on this steaming Wednesday. Well, good evening, William. Let's see. Hello from Mount Carmel. And the other, Jeff Miller, to answer your question completely, the other place that I got my weather history was from John Payne. When John Payne, who was a longtime weather observer here in Evansville, and he did weekend weather here for a period in the late 70s and early 80s here on 14. The professor, you might remember him as that. Anyway, he had an incredible record that he kept daily. He observed the weather at his house for the National Weather Service, sent his observations in, and he had literally binders of information, all neatly, categorized and everything. Becky Doan, hello from Mount Carmel. Glad to have you on there. I'll bet it's hot in the snake pit. Nobody wanders over to the football field to test that out, but it's gotta be. Cheyenne Hammonds, tired of this, Grandpa. It's too dang bad. Yep. How soon before we can give the AC a break? Oh, not for a while. A lot of you, of course, are asking about the 4th of July and fireworks and that, and here we're at Wednesday. It's still too soon to really try to nail down. And even, Friday or Saturday, when we're talking scattered afternoon thunderstorms, it's just that. They will pop up when they do, and we'll deal with them when they do, and hopefully they will be out, by the time the sun goes down. Usually this time of the year and this kind of weather, you'll get a spate of storms maybe that last a couple, 3 hours, and then it kind of cools down and it's fine for the evening. So we'll hope that is the scenario we're looking at for July the 4th. We do have a level 1 or marginal risk for severe on Friday. I didn't show that graphic, but that's pretty standard, especially given the heat and humidity that we're expecting then. So we'll have an update on that over on TV on 14 News at 10. In the meantime, stay safe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you over there on TV in about 40 minutes.